This PoetryPower video focuses on the emigre. In order to connect us to the themes of the emigre, I want you to have a little think about your own family history. Everyone's got family stories and pieces of family history that are really, really important to them. One of the things I think you should do is to have a little think about what's important to you and why it's important to you. Here, I want you to read the poem Checking Out My History. I'm going to leave a little gap on each slide for you to do that. One of the things you ought to do is head over to YouTube and search John Agard reading his poem himself. It's a very different experience to the one you'll have had in class. He reads it with a gentleness and a song lyric style to it that makes it quite a celebration. But take a moment to read it yourself and then we'll head straight on with some activities. I want you to start by thinking about feelings. How could being powerless, not having the power to, let's say, understand your own history, change your own life, make your own decisions, make you feel? 3 quick feelings and explain why. Once you're done, unpause and on we go. As usual, we're going to explore 3 things. What does the poet want us to feel? How do they use language to present their message? And why have they shaped the poem in this way? This poem is about someone discovering their identity. They don't feel like they've been given the whole story. They don't feel like they've been given all of the parts of themselves that matter, that they're incomplete because they've not been given some of the ideas that they feel they're entitled to from their own heritage. They feel that's injured them, damaged them, made it harder for them to live their lives. And then it becomes about making something new. The word carving is used in the last line, and in this photo here you've got that sense of something being shaped, someone kind of learning and making their own identity, which I think is quite important as an idea for this poem. So, what's the poem about? It's the power of a single person. It explores finding an identity, and it's a challenge to a white history curriculum in schools that erased parts of black history. The poet sees this as a violent attack on his identity. The final lines seem to suggest a personal discovery. How? Identity is presented as important. And then there's the concept that being attacked by racism or by being erased from history seems like violence and assault. Those are the 2 big hows that we'll look at in a moment. And why? It's a political poem. The poet feels his identity has been denied. The poem offers a vivid glimpse of personal anger and pain. The repeated vocabulary of injury and violence is balanced, though, by a positive focus on discovering and reshaping an identity. And that's also partly why I think it's important that you hear 2 versions of this poem. One, the one that we perform most often in school, is quite an angry reading. It focuses on getting almost kind of undoing that damage, but with its own violence. Whereas John Agard reads it quite peacefully. And he reads a sense of kind of almost creating his own identity through song and through poetry, which again is a good interpretation of the poem. Time to explode some quotations. Have a look at our first quotation, and I think you should look here at the pronoun, whether it's challenging or whether it's defeated, the use of repetition, what's being repeated and why, and the verb tell, which comes up 3 times in the opening line. In this quotation, blind me to my own identity, I think you should look at the metaphor, the pronoun, and the verbs. In this quotation, but now I'm checking out my own history, you've got lots of things to look at. The pronoun, the verbs, it's a alter. It's a change from the rest of the poem. There's a metaphor here. And then I want you to think about tone. Positive, defeated, passive, active. What kind of tone is being used here? Once you're done, unpause and on we go. Now, I want to switch gear a little. So, I want you to come to your own life for a piece of writing now. Things that are important to you. Things that you encounter in everyday life. Might be simple things like fish and chips. I've put the picture on the left because I grew up in the West Midlands. Things to me that are important: traffic noise, green spaces, tall buildings, the skies above the city. I love to be able to stand on hills and look over cities and see the busyness of everything that's going on in the West Midlands. Police sirens on a summer's night when I sleep with the window open. Those are things that from my childhood made me me. The accent, for all that I haven't got much of a one, the accent was a big thing growing up. My mum was quite keen that she wanted me not to have a West Midlands accent. Didn't work out so well, but it's not as strong as perhaps the students I went to school with. My school life, that mix of cultures, lots of Muslims, lots of Hindus in my school, a very, very eclectic and mixed school community that helped me to grow up seeing that the West Midlands is made of loads of different cultures all working reasonably well together, and that's been important for me in my life and my teaching life. So a little list of things that are important for you. Now I want you to shape that. In front of each one, I want you to put the line "I come from," and you'll find that you build something up with a rhythm and a shape. Once you've got that, we'll have a little think about editing it into something that's a little bit more like a poem.